Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So welcome to the new updated Forbidden Limited list. Before we talk about what is going to be the future of the metagame, let's review what has been going on in the TCG as of late. Despite the gruesome showing in YCS Anaheim, I think we already have like a very established metagame. Like, if you look at the chart right here, this is prior to the list, and it comes to no surprise that the decks that are in here are the decks that deserve to be on this list. We see a bunch of rogue decks hailing from Pyramid Tsurugi down to like Mermaid Atlanteans, while Malice is actually keeping up very strong pace, very close to what is Yomi, Dracotail, and the Mitsu variant of Yomi. Now, let's talk about the things that the list did for us, right? Let's start with artifacts. So, we now have a second artifact in the Forbidden Limited list. After this happening, I was kind of skeptical into what the artifacts are in the archetype. So I looked into all of them, and the more oppressive ones that we already have left are Dagda, Lancia, Durandal, and Vajra. Vajra is like the strongest one out of every other artifact that I've read. Every other single artifact is just artifact monster that just does support for the theme. I think it's very clear that unless Konami gives us very strong tier 1 support, artifacts are not going to be a strategy on its own that is going to take off like at all in the TCG or in the OCG. However, artifacts historically has already been known to be like tools of mass destruction. Lancia is probably going to see play depending whether or not like whether Malice or other like banishing themes are very popular. Durandal has been seen play in K9 decks or in degenerate strategies in the OCG that involve like locking out your opponent with Draw Lockbird, if you know what I'm talking about. Vajra is like the next abusable one when it comes to like giving monster to your opponent. Upon summon, it can blow up their own spell and trap zones, own spell and trap cards. And since it's your opponent's own card, is even strong, it is even harder for it to stop than cards like, let's say for example, Harpy's Feather Duster or Lightning Storm. But yeah, that's for artifacts. I don't think we're going to have any problem with them as anytime soon. Well, hopefully. Nemesis. So Protoss is gone. What's going to happen now that we lost Protoss? So I immediately turned my head into Ekatos because Ekatos is the antithesis of Protoss. And even though Escatos is harder to use in a wide range because it only stops types instead of attributes, Ekatos is just as dangerous. Reprodokus alongside Ekatos can make it so you can just craft whatever type or that you need in order to just lock down your opponent depending on what strategies that they're playing. And those are not hard things to do. Those are not hard things to figure out. If you already summon Banshee and Banshee you use for flag and add flag to add Escatos, that's already 2 materials that you can use to make Reprodokus. And like that's already 1 type that you have for Ekatos. So it's really easy to make this combo. The fact that we already have multiple search for targets for Ekatos, and the fact that Escatos is unlimited as opposed to when Protoss was legal, when it was already limited, it's just a matter of time until people figure out just how powerful the Nemesis engine still is on certain decks. One bright side to this is the YGO strategy is incredibly harder to pull this off as compared to other strategies. So I think you're gonna have to think outside the box if you're going to play Excatos. Ritual Beast is like the first deck that comes to mind because that was the first deck that used Protoss. But yeah, next topic at hand, the barrier statues. So we now have 3 statues in the Forbidden list alongside Fossil Dyna. But what about the other 3 statues? So if I have to make a fair assessment, I think Konami wants to keep these statues around. More so for the inclination of like the decks that can play them. Like if we look here at the pie chart, like Mermail Atlantean only has like a 1% of use like topping rate like in the past couple weeks. So I think it's kind of safe to say that they kind of want more players to be incentivized to play the Mermail Atlantean deck. That deck is not that powerful at the moment. This is the one gimmick it has going for it. Funnily enough, this Mermail Atlanteans was already doing what Chris Strong was doing when it got paired with the K9 cards. So it's only a matter of time to say whether or not this is gonna be problematic. Small head note: Dark Lords are getting more support in Burst Protocol, and that is a strategy that can summon this card very easily, as opposed to other strategies, because of the Condemned Wish, which is now the Condemned Dark Lord. Will this see play in that strategy, and will it be taking off? Only time will tell, but we do have strategies that can summon this card. I think with Yomi being very popular, I don't think this card should be warranted to be played like on people's lists. Same thing with Dark Statue. I think as long as Mitsurugi is around, we also have Malice, we also have Orchest, we also have like other dark centric strategies. Even more funnily enough, we have Typhon in people's extra decks. I think the Dark Barrier Statue of the Abyss is going to be like the least usable one for the time being. Konami just doesn't want to clutter the list with all the barrier statues. Realistically, they should just get rid of all of them. But all of these statues were tutorable as opposed to these ones. Torrent is still tutorable by the Mermail Atlantean theme. This is tutorable like in the Chimera strategy, as well as other Fiendsmith variants or Fiend-centric strategies that can make Aerial Leader. Dark Lords can summon this really easily. I don't know about other decks. Maybe decks that can play like Ties of the Brethren can summon this as well. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh, so one thing I want to talk about before we go to the next topic. Konami kind of likes the stun strategy to be its own thing. We have way more other things besides the barrier statues that can just stun and lock out your opponent. And it's safe to say not everybody is gonna make the list. Like, there are incentives for playing these decks. This is a OCG strategy that never took off in the TCG, but for those who don't know about Morganite Stun, it's basically a strategy where you can just activate this card or this card, and you can just summon these monsters for free. And Guild Gripping Core Morganite is even more degenerate because it makes it so you don't have to pay life points for your Solemn cards. So this is a strictly going first strategy to just lock out your opponent out of the game. Again, Konami's not gonna hit all these archetypes and strategies. They want people to actually try these out. I think their aim when it comes to this is that they just want players to be like have more liberty of being creative with their decks. If a strategy like this one takes off and is really popular, Konami will just make another list and just nerf them to the ground. But until then, this is what we got for now. So, Dimensional Barrier is now gone. This is a really big deal for a lot of decks. You'll see examples of the type of strategies that are going to be more incentivized to be played now because of Barrier being gone. This is arguably the most oppressive card we've had in the past decade in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Now, with Dimensional Barrier finally being gone, what is the replacement for it? So, these are just cards that I think off the top of my head. Griswold Prison is the closest comparison to Dimensional Barrier. However, Griswold Prison is a lot more specific. It needs a Ritual Fusion or Tribute Summon monster. Surprise, surprise. Two of the most popular strategies are decks that can fulfill this condition. So, it's only a matter of time. If Yomi is still a popular deck, this will see meta play because this shuts down the entire Yomi portion or the Yomi deck. This also shuts down Canines as well. This can be easily be played in Draco Tail. This can easily be played in Mitsurugi. Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time until we see Grisel present. DDG and the Black Ghost Laughs, these are not as impactful as the Dimensional Barrier. However, these are very strong, like, blanketing effect cards in itself. And with now Barrier being gone, some of the more stronger strategies might pop up, which means these cards will be a necessary evil against those decks. Alright, let's talk about the topic at hand. Since Barrier is now gone, as well as a lot of other lingering floodgate monsters, a lot of people might be just more incentivized to be playing these strategies. I think the clear winner out of this bunch is Lunalight. With Protoss and Dimensional Barrier both being gone, those were two really big outliers that just made this strategy very hard to play, especially when you lose the die roll. Heavy Polymerization is a really powerful card. If this card resolves and you're playing the Lunalight strategies, your win rate just goes up at least by 70%. And I think it comes to no surprise that we have not seen Lunalight doing as well. I think now, after this list, or with this list already taking into effect, this might be a deck that people look into because, reminder, this almost won the World Championships of 2025. Gem Knights is another really strong deck that I can think of. I think this deck was not able to participate in the World Championships solely for the fact that Europe didn't have the terminals like Battles of Legends set, but now they do. Branded Draco Tail is another very scary deck. I'll talk about this a little bit more later. I've actually been seeing Unchained topping regionals as of late. And this is one of the original board breaker strategies that was popping off like in the recent years. So who knows? Maybe with less lockdown cards, this might see more play. I don't have to talk about Dark Ruler no more. I don't have to talk about super polymerization. Like this is all just very common dribble by now. Alright. So, is Yomi Mitsurugi still the best deck? I think so. I don't think this list affected this strategy at all. If anything, it made this strategy even stronger. Dimensional Barrier was one of the biggest incentives for playing this hybrid of Yomi. And Yomi itself was already a strong deck to contend with. Mitsurugi is like one of the best engines in the game. So, yeah, I think this strategy will pop off a lot more than people might think. That being said, we do have some other outlier restrictive cards that can just stop them. Duel is just a really strong card this format because of it. Because Dimensional Barrier is now gone, I can see people start playing stuff like Mistaken Arrest and Let Deck Lockdown to just lock down these decks, no pun intended, out of the game. Another very popular strategy, I think, is going to be branded Draco Tail or Draco Tail variants. My favorite variant is the Shadow variant. If you've been on my channel, you've already seen me profile the Shadow Draco Tail deck. I might make an updated deck profile of this and might take it to locals. Since now I have more incentive of playing this again. But yeah, in the same similar fashion, Draco Tail is a very, very strong deck, and we do have the tools to make up for it. I think a rogue pick this next season is going to be Malice. Malice is a deck that can play all these cards. They can also play Mistaken Arrest as well, and Deck Lockdown, and that deck is really strong against both these strategies. Not enough people are citing enough hate for this deck, even though Ghost Bell is really popular, and that is a card that actually does affect this strategy. Yeah. In conclusion, I think this is the same meta game that we're seeing right now. Crystron might lose some playability. Like the other decks that are on this list, I think will do just fine. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think. I actually welcome the change that Konami did. I actually think more lists like this need to happen. And we might see the next Forbidden list happening like after the release of Phantom Revengers. But yeah, as for now, we'll keep playing this new meta game. Keep practicing and keep dueling.